What's up, Morgan? I have shuffled and laid out the Sirian Starseed Tarot reading for 2017. In this, we have the world, sense of past, what you're moving out of. 2017, your feelings on this, what your thoughts are on this, spiritual guidance for this next year, forces working for you, forces working against you, general prevailing neutral forces, form, hidden knowledge, the mirror, who are you in this year, and resolve, what karmic resolution needs to or will take place over this year. Starting off, the world, sense of past. The Two of Chalices. Here we have two lovers with their chalices intertwined. Behind them there's this castle wall, and around them are flowers. But beyond the castle wall is all mist and fog. The chalices is the suit of emotion. This card is about that love and almost dreamy state of totally giving yourself to another person. And it also has to do with friendships, but less of a degree of that, more about the romantic side. And also speaks to not being blinded by this, how this feeling can blind you to the rest of the world going on within yourself and around you. In this placement, I feel that it is something that you have not so much topped out, but have really come to the highest points of that, or have mastery over that, which is a great thing to accomplish. And so with that being the last step that you are on, moving on to this next step, which is 2017, we have the Seven of Chalices. Now, where the two is about romance, the seven is about your inner creativity and imagination. Here we have these steps with the seven chalices going up them. It's about discerning whether or not your creative endeavors are serving you as much as they can be in your growth and evolution as a being, as a person. Are they distracting you, or are they serving for your advancement? Now, this placement, I see it as them sort of as the creative endeavors that bring you emotional fullness are growing and becoming more refined, and also simultaneously growing and expanding. And that's the main thing to look for in this coming year, is the growth and progression of all things artistic and creative. Now, your feelings about this. Feelings, where your heart is at. The Six of Orbs. The orbs is the mental suit. Here we have these six orbs around a dolphin, and it's swimming out to sea. This is about, with all the orb cards, pretty much all of them have kind of a negative story besides the ace and besides the six. Because as our thoughts grow, they weigh down on us, positive or not, they weigh down on us. And this is about knowing that it's time to seek calmer waters, a calmer mental state. calmer mental processes, and just really taking it easy on yourself. The 6 also has to do with childhood and having that more childlike forgiveness, or because when you're a kid, you don't really think about things the same way you do now, and being more in that now moment. So as a kid, you're a lot more about right now. And so for feelings, you could be feeling like there's something that you have to get out of, or recognizing that you've put yourself in an unnecessary amount of stress or anxiety, and just sort of take a deep breath and relax and trust your planning, trust your decisions, and just go with it. And yeah, thoughts. Where are your thoughts in 2017? The Adept of Orbs. One of the 4 people cards in this suit. The Adept is the male student of the mental scape. While he has great, prodigy-like capabilities, he's still not overcome ego and is impulsive and not yet refined in that suit. Now, in this placement, it's very possible that it represents someone in your life that you could be thinking about a lot, or that has a lot of pull over your thoughts and your overall mental well-being, but I like to take it as focusing on that sort of archetype in yourself more than as a literal person, because it's a lot more applicable to just look to internalize it. At the same time, though, be conscious of your thoughts. Be conscious of who has sway on that, and don't be too impulsive or brash or jump to conclusions. Really look from a more selfless state and look at the whole. Yeah. Now, spiritual guidance for 2017. Five of Orbs. 5 of Orbs. Here we have our character out on a ledge, out in the middle of nowhere. 2 of the orbs are already cracked on the ground, and he's still trying to juggle the 3, but he's unaware that he's dropped them. This is about distancing yourself from community for personal gain, feeling like you were rejected, and trying to think of solutions that are more sort of revenge charged from that very ego space. How do you feel that you have to distance yourself and get even? And how can you put those thoughts, how can you let those go? For spiritual guidance, it's about letting go of that ego character that serves as a great defense mechanism for spirit, but it's not something that should lead the way. It shouldn't lead you down your life. And so letting go of that will be the main spiritual guidance, especially in your thoughts, because your thoughts can just totally overrun you if you don't have them in check. All right. Forces working for you, 2017. The 8 of Chalices. Here we have our 8 chalices laid out from full to empty, but our character is unconcerned with that because he has drank his fill and knows it is time to move on to the next plane. moving to a higher plane. What this illustrates is knowing when it's time in a situation or a circle of friends to, hello, to let go and move on. How have you had your fill of the situation or feel you've topped out in a circle of people or some sort of community? And how can you walk away from the situation while honoring the memories that you had and knowing that they're still a part of you, but it's not where you should be right now? This for forces working for you. I feel that you are aware of this as a necessary step and know when to apply it and when to get out, and know not to overindulge, but to continue with progression. And yeah. So, blockages, forces working against you, 2017. 5 of chalices. Another 5. Number 5 is the furthest from 0 in any direction, from 0 to 10. And 0 represents wholeness. And so the furthest you can get from wholeness is the feeling of loss, the feeling of being lost. And so the message here is, while you might have suffered a great amount of loss, you can be blind to things that are right there in front of you, treasures that are still there for you, that's you can build on, and not to linger on what's gone, and just focus on rebuilding and revamping and continuing down your path, your walk of life. And so in this placement, you can definitely sense the feeling of loss. It is really kind of cliche advice to, hey, what's up, Jordan? Oh, I'm just doing a tarot reading.
Want some psychedelics?
Maybe later. I will get to you later. Sorry, I just yeah. So, but yeah, the 5 of chalices. In this placement of blockages, it is hard to see past what we have lost, especially as we're going through it, and that feeling of tremendous heartbreak and like feeling like it was all for nothing, because in the end, we can lose so much of what we put ourselves into, both, on the physical plane, on the emotional plane especially. And so it's really important just to bring your focus on how you can rebuild and how you can build yourself up again. And yeah, moving on to general prevailing neutral forces at work for 2017. The Ace of Flames. The Ace, number 1, pure manifestation. And flames, which is the suit of the spirit, the suit of inner passion and that explosive creative energy within all things. This card is about your passion burning brighter, or a new creative drive emerging, and the overall growth and expansion of that. As a prevailing neutral force for 2017, I would say that as a whole, your inner flame, your inner truth will burn brighter and more noticeable to yourself and to others, so you can have more of a positive effect on the people around you by being more in tune with that. Yep. And so That's prevailing. Neutral forces. Now, form. What form to take to work through these forces in this coming year? Reflection. Number 9 of the major arcana. After a major cycle has been completed, it is important to take time to isolate yourself and reflect on the highs, the lows, the obstacles, the solutions, all of it. And really? All right.
I'm curious.
All right. Reflect on both, the good and the bad, and how to take it, how to grow from it, how to learn and improve, and also rest and recharge for the next cycle beginning in your life. In its placement as form, like this, but also another name for form is the key that unlocks these forces. Through reflection, you can get through sorting out your losses and what you still have to gain. You can reflect and know when it is time to walk away from a situation, but still hold it in your heart, and you can reflect to acknowledge and better implement, honoring your inner truth and your inner fire. And it is a very necessary step for growth. Reflection, it's about looking deeper into the whole process overall. And so it can work through the 5 of orbs, feeling isolated, like there's that need for ego to kind of save the day with its very self-centered and sort of wonky plans that don't really, as a whole, add up or solve any karma, but rather just get you more entangled in these wheels and webs of karma. And so, for 2017, focus on reflection. Next, the mirror. Hidden knowledge. Who are you in 2017?
You want to go back to your card and call it?
The Master of Flames. Flames, again, the suit of the spirit. The Master is the counterpart to the Adept, is the complete, what's that? Completed, fully experienced master of this suit of, it's both selfless and not impulsive by contrast, and knows how to call upon both, femininity, masculinity, yin yang energy to exuberate grace and harmony. And so this, again, people cards can represent a person in your life. In this placement, I would say that whoever this character represents, you really try to emulate or look to for guidance in spirituality, in what's that? To help bring your inner truth to light, so to speak. But seeing someone that you really try to look to for support in that. But for this placement of it as the mirror, I would say to look and acknowledge that divine masculine authority in yourself as a part of your persona, as part of your being, that sort of rule and disciplined outlook on passion, creative endeavors, resolve. What karmic resolution needs to or will take place this next year? Five of Crystals. You almost got all of the fives in this read. The Five of Crystals is about, well, crystals is the physical suit. It is everything physical that we treasure. Physical health, money, what are possessions. The story behind this is here we have a priestess, and in the background there's her sisterhood that just kicked her out. Her five most precious crystals thrown to the ground, now lay broken at her feet. What this illustrates is that when you place more focus and love towards the physical tools, like money and stuff, possessions, you can get ejected from the whole process. You can get ejected from the circle that helped bring you there, that you really rely on, and you can lose your money, your stuff, kind of willy-nilly. And so what this means is that your focus should be on what really matters and what really lasts, that fullness of the heart, joy and love, relationships with people, and that type of fulfillment, rather than just working for the physical things. As karmic resolve, I would say that that's the message of that story is what needs to be focused on. How are you working towards the fullness of love, spirit, and friendships versus working towards just, things, physical things. And that's not just, that's not just for work, but how are you propelling or steering your life towards building up those things, is what I mean. All right, now we have the 12th mystery card. One last message. What is it? The Nine of Chalices. Similar to the Nine of the Major Arcana, this speaks more towards fullness. Here we have this guy, and he's in a temple, and he's got his 9 chalices all full with the sun shining down on them. It's about making the journey from the 8 of chalices and then finding that next plane that he's out there walking towards, and it is so fulfilling, so quenching and full that you can rest and take a breather. It's the mystery card. Its message can be very open to interpretation. These number cards, the suit cards, unlike the major arcana, becoming aware of them can really affect whether or not they happen or not, whereas the major cards are more of a prevailing, unavoidable thing that is going to transpire. Now, this could represent the good outcome, like what to look forward to if you take these things to heart and reflect and honor your inner truth and work through all the things that were illustrated, overcoming ego and knowing when to walk away, and in your heart knowing when to move to stillness, in your thoughts having work on attaining more mastery over them, not letting them burden you. And it can also mean that when you have take that fullness as a sign to reflect and a time to rest. That's the way that I interpret that last card. So we have the world, sense of past, love, and unity, and giving yourself to another, having attained sort of mastery or graduation in that, really having that down pat. Next, 2017, we have the creative spiral, the Seven of Chalices, how your imagination, and creative endeavors that bring you fullness can both lead you up in evolution as a being, but they can also distract you if you're not keeping them in check. So being very mindful of that, and that one thing that I emphasize to people is that there's a huge difference between huffing good energy and actually progressing and developing as a being. It's not all fun and games. A lot of people will just try to, just totally saturate themselves with good energy, but not put in the work in moving upward, in advancing, and really growing as a being. Just knowing how to balance that and balance hard work as well as imagination, as well as your relations with other people. Balancing your emotions as a whole involves balancing those aspects. Alright, I'll be right over there in a second, Jordan. That's my friend Jordan. He's real cool. But feelings, the Six of Orbs, knowing when it is time to leave a storm in search of calmer waters, of calmer being in your heart, knowing when you have to get out of a mental situation, how you see yourself, how things are going on in your life, and moving towards that calmness and stillness. Thoughts, this can be somebody that you think about a lot, be mindful of that, but internally recognizing how far you've come and how much mastery you have within yourself over your thoughts, and how you have supreme control over them. And then from there, taking it to that next step of how can you sort through the thoughts that serve you most, and getting rid of the smaller thoughts that hold you back from attaining full mastery in that. Spiritual guidance. How do you feel you have to isolate yourself? Why do you feel like you're an outsider that needs to get back at people? Spiritual guidance. Also, how are you juggling these sort of negatively charged thoughts that are for good intentions for yourself, but also kind of distance you from community? Forces working for you, knowing when you are full and when you are completed a situation, topped out, and are ready to graduate to the next plane. Being forces working against you, coping with loss and rebuilding after tragedy. How to look up and see what's right there in front of you rather than dwelling on what has already happened. General prevailing neutral forces, Ace of Flames, that creative, explosive life energy within yourself, manifesting to higher truths, to fuller understanding and communication with the heart space, with spirit, form, reflection, looking inward in each of these forces within yourself, and getting, improving from there, healing from there, growing. The mirror, who are you in the situation? The Master of Flames, the divine masculine authority figure over the spirit fires of creation. You see this in yourself and recognize it and honor it. And also you look to a sort of fatherly figure in your life for support in this aspect. Next karmic resolve, what needs to or will be resolved, focusing on the tools over the purpose ejects you from the process. Focusing on the material more than the matters of the heart and community and friendship and love always leads to ruin. You cannot take any of that with you, so how are you gearing your life towards amassing great treasures of the heart rather than treasures of the physical? Lastly, the mystery card, 9 of Chalices. Being full and knowing that you're on top emotionally and at a very high point, and resting and basking in that. Alright, I hope this was very helpful and that you enjoyed it. Sorry for the disturbances. I'm over at a friend's house tonight, chilling, living it up, and yeah. Tell your friends.